All right, let's do a little audio and visual check here. What's up, everybody? Welcome. Thank you for stopping by. Good afternoon. Do a little warm up test stream. We're going to be talking about again the Kansas City Three Men and the attorney, and a little bit over some of the inconsistencies. And then we're going to listen to Nancy Grace. Finally, did a video or a podcast on it. And I've been waiting for Nancy. I wish she would do something on Savannah Soto, but she hasn't, to my knowledge. Which is kind of crazy. I guess I don't know. But it's crazy, man. The mess. You know, the fifth person, the attorney, kind of changing his story multiple times. Even the newspaper, the news articles are saying that he's changed his story several times. My vision's a little blurry. You know, a little soap in there, and then I put some eye drops, and then the eye drops made it worse. But and thank you for the people that watched and came through yesterday for the premiere of The Couple That Froze. Really appreciate that, and people that watched after, the video's doing pretty good. So thanks. Well, maybe we can start here before we start with a little bit of the inconsistency stuff. We can start with this interview that was given to, it looks like Jordan. This was in July 6, 2022. We'll go over this a bit before we get started on the whole inconsistencies of Nancy Grace. Meet the IAVI scientists applying new and emerging technologies to one of the toughest challenges facing HIV vaccine researchers today. So he's a vaccine guy, a scientist. And it says here, what is the focus of your work? I'm a senior principal scientist and work on data science, deep learning, and synthetic biology. I work within the Chef Lab at the Scripps Research IAVI Neutralizing Antibody Center to apply data science, software development, and immunogen engineering to the germline targeting problem within HIV vaccine development. I also conduct the data analysis and interpretation of IAVI's clinical HIV vaccine trials. And this is, here it says Jordan Willis, PhD, senior principal scientist. We know germline targeting is one of the toughest problems facing HIV vaccine researchers today. How would you describe the challenge in your own words, and why germline targeting is important to HIV science? Generally, the problem we face is that there are only a few ways in which we think we can effectively immunize against HIV. I like to think that of the immune system as a military academy where we are training soldiers antibodies to fight HIV. That is, we need super soldier antibodies ready to protect against infection before it can take hold. Sadly, these super soldiers are not hanging around in our immune system ready to fight. We must train them from cadets. That's where vaccines come in. They are designed to train cadets into soldiers. Here's the catch. Most of the cadets in our immune system do not have what it takes to become super soldiers required to fight HIV. We must specifically look for rare cadets that have properties to grow up into super soldiers. We can call these super soldiers broadly neutralizing agents or antibodies, BNABs. Finding the right cadet is a germline targeting problem. They're very infrequent and have rare properties, and that is essentially the germline targeting problem in a nutshell, finding very infrequent things and training them to fight HIV. He goes on here to talk about mutation and antibodies and stuff like that. What I thought was kind of interesting too, I just broadly read over this. You guys want me to read the whole thing? I can read the whole thing. I thought this wet labs thing was interesting too. I'm a hybrid scientist. I came from the wet lab, working in a carefully designed laboratory with chemicals and potentially wet hazards with very little knowledge of how computational biology works. I slowly developed the skills, and now I work 100% at my desk, working from home, I guess, or maybe at the lab, I don't know, using computers for analysis and designing experiments. My background is useful for good communication between the wet lab scientists and bioinformatics computational scientists. Knowing how to navigate those two worlds is valuable and a unique skill. We've collected, we've collected these special antibodies called BNABs from people who've acquired HIV and are living with the infection for at least 3 years. With these antibodies, we started to work backward to reverse engineer a vaccine. We studied exactly how the body made BNABS and tried to mimic how the immune system did it. It's a new way of thinking about how vaccines work and how we can elicit antibodies to these very difficult targets. So they go on to talk about these trials, the IAVI G001 trial. So I don't think we need to read the whole thing, but I just thought that was kind of interesting. A little bit of the background from this guy. Scientist, very knowledgeable, a lot of experience. We went over his, I guess, resume. And again, cops are saying he's not being investigated. There's no suspicion of foul play, but just an interesting background. Now, the whole thing of the things that we talked about last night and some of the inconsistencies, at this point, I'm kind of lost myself. I'm like, I don't even know what's what. Where do we start? Where do we end? Where are we at? Type of thing. That's all over the place. Make sure you subscribe to the second channel, IconMelCC, because last night I posted a video. I had ran out of notifications here, so I posted a short video about the fifth person. So if you missed it, you can check it out, but we'll go over it here anyway. A fifth friend has come forward claiming he was present at the Kansas City Chiefs watch party that resulted in the 3 men freezing to death in their pal's backyard, and has revealed new details about the trio's final hours. The fifth person, who has not been named publicly, had joined the group, which include David, Ricky, and Clayton, at Jordan Willis's Kansas City rental on January 7th to watch their hometown team play their last regular season game. Attorney John Persino told Fox 4. And again, Jordan is not the homeowner. He was just renting the place. Okay. The man told the media outlet that when he left the home, Willis and his other 3 friends were still awake, which contradicts, if you think about it, one of the stories that the John Persino put out, that this guy had Jordan had gone to sleep on the couch, which even that story kind of changed. It seemed like I fell asleep on the couch as the men left, and at some point too, the attorney, I thought he had said he doesn't even know what time they left. Now they kind of know. He kind of saw them to the door, but then also John Persino had said that after these guys had left, first he said he doesn't know what door they went out of. Now he's saying that they walked out of the front door. That he kind of walked them to the door, or he saw that they went out the front door. And then he said that they possibly walked out and came back in and hung out even more. It's changed a couple of times. The man told the outlet that when he left the home, Willis and his other friends were still awake. The man also stressed that he was not the last person to see Harrington, Johnson, and McGeeney alive before they froze to death in Willis's backyard and went unnoticed for 2 days. The fifth individual had arrived at the house at around 7 p.m. and left around midnight, his attorney, Andrew Talgi, said. So everybody's lawyered up. Jordan's lawyered up. The fifth person's lawyered up. And some of the families have lawyered up. Or at least one, I think. When his client left, the 4 other men were up watching Jeopardy. So some new details. I'm not sure why these details couldn't have come from Jordan's attorney. We now get it from the fifth person's attorney, indicating that the 3 victims were still alive in the early hours of Monday, Talgi added. Talgi's version of events contradicts Persino's statements, which insisted that Willis saw his 4 friends out at the end of the night and then went to sleep on his couch. Persino also said several times that Willis, who allegedly slept on his couch for the next 2 days, unaware of his 3 friends were frozen in the backyard, only received messages via Facebook and did not get texts or calls, which, listen, the families have, I believe, had said that they have text and called, not just Facebook. But not only that, the fifth person had said that after the families had reached out to him, that he in turn went and texted or whatever Jordan. Okay, so just more, contradictions and stuff. I don't know. And for anybody that's missed it, I don't know if you missed it or not. Persino had an interview with Ashley Banfield, which is really, really, really interesting. And Ashley had said like, "Hey, like, were there any drugs at this thing?" And he said, "To protect the privacy of my client, blah blah blah, no comment." So to me, in my head, I interpret that as there was drugs. According to Taug, however, his client received a text message from McGeeney's fiance, here we go, and from Johnson's mother, both asking about their loved ones. Their concerns prompted Taug's client to text Wilson and Johnson, but he never did receive a reply, their lawyer alleged. And Persino declined to comment on the discrepancy to Fox 4, which to me, it's like, this guy's been so open and talking to multiple news media outlets and answering questions. And then when they come and say like, "Hey, there's this discrepancy from another attorney with his client that are saying that we're actually there," that claims differently. Is this miscommunication between the client and attorney, like between Jordan and his attorney? It doesn't look good. At least have a straight, whatever the story is, stick to that story. Sometimes things evolve. I understand that too, but this is something that's noteworthy to mention. Or the fact that like there was another person there and we just hearing about this like weeks later. And I had a thought, but it kind of slipped my mind. And it was kind of funny that the title of this the video, the thumbnail that I made, "Their lawyer needs a lawyer." I got a comment. I think it was on the second channel when we were talking about the video, and somebody left me that comment, "Their lawyer needs a lawyer," and I just thought it was hilarious, and I thought it was fitting. This is a picture of Jordan here, which they said he took a leave of absence from his job. I guess maybe he's afraid. Probably, probably people are kind of looking into him. Maybe he's not used to this. Probably not. Obviously, I guess, right? It's a nerve-wracking, probably. I don't know what to think, because after cops had come out and said 100% it's not being investigated as a homicide, even though people have said our cops can lie, and maybe they're just waiting for the results and they don't want to scare anybody. And honestly, even if they get the toxicology report, and even if there is drugs in their system, would anybody even be held accountable? We covered that story from yesterday, which I thought it was really interesting and good. It's a story from 2005 with the couple that froze to death where substances were involved. And that couple, I guess, like on New Year's Eve or day, had went to this people's house and kind of partied. They all, I guess, maybe took meth or something. In that house, it was a mother, 50-something years old, and a son. I guess the mama was having meth parties or something. The mother and the son, they only got charged for possession of meth. They didn't do any kind of long time or whatever, because I don't know what really happened to that couple. I think it was a combination of substances, being up for days, and then also at the same time freezing to death, being confused, not able to communicate their location. It was really creepy and eerie. And at that time, they didn't have the GPS tracker location stuff at that time in those areas. And so with the freezing to death, sometimes people have hallucinations, delirium, strip off their clothes, all kinds of stuff. Really kind of crazy story. So I don't know. But, the odd thing, the very odd thing about this story that's bewilders me is that these people were right outside this guy's backyard. Okay, like right there, like feet away. Like if you need help, knock, 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 knock. Or, and the other thing they said too, maybe we should listen to the video from last night, that supposedly, I think didn't they leave their coats somewhere? Coats in the house or something? I don't know. Well, somebody said they're naked too. Taugate also did not immediately respond to the Post's request for comment. Harrington, Johnson, and McKinney's body were not found until January 9th, when McKinney's fiance requested a welfare check. In an interview with News Nation last week, Persino said that Willis left his home sporadically. So here's another inconsistency, okay? Left his home sporadically on January 8th and 9th, only to backtrack on Monday and say that Willis had only been in and out of his bedroom, okay? That's a big ass difference, okay? We were here. We've been covering it. I have to make a playlist for all the videos so people can go back and watch. We've been here and covering it. We watched the interview, and I even questioned. I'm like, sporadically. So how did this guy leave his house and not know or see the vehicles? Which now they're saying the vehicles weren't in the driveway. They're saying the vehicles are parked on the street. And Persino, Jordan's attorney, is saying that it's not uncommon for sometimes the friends to leave the vehicles out front. And if you haven't watched, because I posted a video here last night, and I posted a video on the second channel, some of the victims' families, they straight out said that they believe Jordan had something to do with it, or that they were drugged, that these victims were drugged, or that they were dragged out and left there. All kinds of stuff. It's a mess. It's that people are not buying the story that's coming out. So he had backtracked. There's another inconsistency. That's David. That's Ricky. What I meant to say on News Nation is that he left. He was sleeping and left his bedroom sporadically, he said, according to Fox. Okay, so he cleared it up. Willis moved out of the home less than a week after the bodies were found, his lawyer added, and we're still waiting on the toxicology. And the captain said 100% the incident is not being investigated as a homicide. So some of the huge inconsistencies in this story. And, you know, it was almost implied as if when Persino came out that maybe the fifth person was the last person to see the three alive. But when the fifth person spoke with Fox 4, I guess over the phone, he said he left the three victims and Willis was still awake. He stressed that it's absolutely not true that he was the last person to see the three men alive. After asking a few more questions, he directed Fox 4 to his attorney. And he claims that this guy, the fifth person, was there until midnight and he left. So we saw they were watching Jeopardy, and he said they were all still alive during those early hours. So what happened after this guy left? Persino said multiple times that the only messages Willis received were via Facebook Messenger, and that he didn't get any text messages or calls. Towles disputes that part, saying Tuesday his client received a text from Clayton McGeeney's fiance and Ricky Johnson's mother about their loved ones. And at that point, Towles' client sent a text message to Willis and to Johnson. He never received the text. That's just weird. I don't know. Was he passed out and incapacitated those 2 days? Did he have headphones on for the entire 2 days with noise cancellation? A lot of holes. It's just one of many inconsistencies in the story of what happened in the hours and days after the family and friends lost contact with the three men before they were ultimately found dead. It's got a lot of holes in it. Like the last time he saw them, they were leaving the house, but he didn't know they had left. That doesn't make much sense. Caleb McGeeney, the cousin of Clayton, said. In an interview with News Nation, Persino said his client had left the home sporadically on Monday and Tuesday. He reversed the course on Monday, saying that what he said was poorly phrased and offered a new explanation. And what he meant to say is that he was sleeping and he left his bedroom sporadically. I mean, that's a pretty, I don't know why you would, when you're talking, speak so ambiguously about something like that and not think that people would question whether he left his house in and out. So, all right. So let's listen to Nancy Grace. I love me some Nancy Grace. I don't know how far behind Nancy's caught up on the story. If you guys could hit the like button to it, I appreciate that. Help me out with the algorithm, the YouTube algorithm. Thank you for the memberships. Courthouse Cat, thank you for the 10 months as the best YouTube channel and best chat. Thanks, Mel. Thank you. Get Brains, thank you for the membership. Emma French, thank you for the membership. Cheesy Frog, thank you for the 11 months, says Mel Mods in chat. You're all amazing. Courtney, thank you for the 9 months. As always, amazing coverage. Rachel, thank you for the gift of membership. Rachel Ann and Froggy Megan, thank you for the 4 months. was great, giving the best coverage. Thank you. Let's get started.
Meet Gary. Gary's about to become an Einstein in an instant.
Whoa, Einstein hair. I like it.
Gape.
Now today in the driver's seat, we're worries with Nancy Grace.
I hope.
Gary's about to become an
Then Judy discovered
interior of the Toyota Grand.
I hope Nancy Grace was able to see all the inconsistencies. They just dropped this today. I don't know how much they got caught up, but we'll see.
Crime
Hope she
Stories
snaps.
with Nancy Grace.
There's a party watching the Kansas City Chiefs. And who wouldn't? Everybody wants to see Taylor Swift, right? Excuse me. Everybody wants to see the Chiefs win.
Oh, she was there, and I did see a meme of like her doing this or something. She was there, right? People were hating on her a little bit.
So four
That's what she was at?
diehard fans get together and they watch the game. So how do three of them end up dead on the porch in the backyard? Focus on porch, right outside the door. You can see it. How do three of the friends end up dead? And the fourth friend claims he was, quote, asleep.
Quote.
For 2 days? He was asleep for 2 days. He never went outside and saw the dead body? Okay. I'm Nancy Grace. This is Crime Stories. Thanks for being with us here at Crime Stories and on Sirius XM 111. What do we know? Listen.
On January 8, friends and family of David Harrington, Ricky Johnson, and Clayton McGeeney are concerned about their friends. The last they knew is they were headed to Jordan Willis' house to watch the game. But now none of the guys, including Jordan Willis, are replying to messages on social media or by phone.
Okay, right there. January 8, it's cold. They are partying at Jordan's home, Jordan Willis, the homeowner. They're watching the Chiefs, and the next thing you know, three are dead, and one claims he's been asleep for days. With me, an all-star panel. But first, I want to go to the woman who has been breaking news about this story from the get-go. It's Jen Smith, and she is joining us from dailymail.com. Jen, that's where I first found.
And thank you for guys for reminding me in the chat. By the way, I don't know if this is true or not. I'm gonna try to find a comment. I need somebody, Wilson. If you're, I know you're in the chat. I had heard. So you remember people were questioning about the dogs, right? Because Jordan has dogs, and the attorney had said, "Well, the dogs were at the father's house." I had heard supposedly. We got to find it and verify this. Supposedly, the fifth person said the dogs were there. Anybody know where that's at? Because that's another supposed possible inconsistency. We got to find that. So while we're listening, I'm going to search. If somebody knows where that's at, email me. I thought I seen that somewhere.
Found out about this, and it really just hit me in the face. This guy, Jordan Willis, I mean, he's no idiot. Isn't he a scientist? He's a young guy, big Kansas City Chiefs fan, but he's smart. He's really smart. I don't get how he sleeps for how many days while his friends are dead in the backyard?
Yeah, I mean, very, very fishy to say the least. Jordan Willis, as you rightly point out, is an accomplished scientist, done loads of research into HIV and AIDS, lots of research into COVID-19. Very accomplished guy, no form of record, living in this home in Kansas City, Missouri. He had gone to high school with two of the three men who were later found dead, was friends with the other for many years.
Okay. We got to pause for a second, too, because we got to try to get all the inconsistencies together. Thank you, Wilson. So this is another one, guys. Thank you guys for being here, too. Another one, because we got to call all this ish out. This is just bizarre. Oh, I think I read this on the video I did last night, too. Friends of the three men and Johnson Sr.'s attorney, Nigro, I was afraid to say the other word. I was thinking the other word, but wonder how Willis could have avoided going outside for 2 days. How? How's it possible? He just stayed in the house? Persino attributes the fact that he worked from home. Nigro said three other guests were at Willis's house on the night of the Chiefs game. They said their host's two dogs were present. Bruh. Bro. I almost was going to do a video compilation of all the inconsistencies really short together, but I just kind of couldn't. I was trying to find all the articles and videos and interviews that I just was having a hard time today. It's just a mess. Wanted to put something short and concise, but there's another one. Why? Because I'm pretty sure that Jordan's attorney is the one that said, no, the dogs weren't there. They were at Jordan's father's house. Now they're saying the dogs were there. If you have a dog and there's 3 deceased people at the house, they would alert you to the bodies. Remember the Idaho 4 with the dog situation too? So that's another one. Nigro tells Persino's retelling of events to the press has changed over the course of several interviews, okay? Initially, he was by himself. Now there's a magical 5th person who was at the house. Magic. The fact that the story has changed significantly makes it seem unbelievable and not trustworthy whatsoever, in addition to Mr. Willis leaving the residence and hiring a criminal defense attorney. Those are all signs of someone hiding something, allegedly. I don't think it's necessarily bad to get an attorney. I think it might be actually a good idea. Thank you, Wilson.
Seemingly a completely normal guy. He lived alone in the house. He worked.
Running, that's true. So the dogs did not go out for 2 days while he slept, right? Where those dogs went, if they were in the house, how does he walk those dogs? Does he take them to the front or does he take them to the backyard? Where those dogs at?
From home. He had his 2 beloved pit bulls there.
How many pets does he have?
He has 2 pit bull mixes. They're called Sadie and Daisy.
Wait, Sadie and Daisy don't have to TT for what, 72 hours?
Well,
Let's go,
on this
baby.
particular night, Nancy.
Isn't the timing crazy? I love it. This is a perfect episode for us to be streaming and talking about.
Daisy and Sadie weren't in the house, according to Jordan Willis. They were at his father's house, which he says is something that is totally routine. He often sends them to his father's house, so they weren't actually there, he claims, when all of this happened.
Okay, James Shelnut joining me, high-profile lawyer, joining us out of Alabama. 27 years, metro major case in a big city. Former SWAT now leads the Shelnut law firm. James Shelnut, let me remind you, defense attorney, there is no father-son privilege like attorney-client or priest-parishioner. No such thing. You know, husband-wife, the wife can't blab that the husband did it. So what I'm saying is, if this is true or not true about the dogs being at the dad's house when the 3 friends are found dead in the backyard and on the porch, he's got to testify if called.
Baby.
Absolutely, He's got to testify. And, you know, he can be subpoenaed in front of a grand jury. He doesn't have to talk to investigators when they come to his house.
The dogs,
but
too.
they can most certainly down the road, if it becomes necessary, subpoena him to a grand jury. And then he will be forced to testify unless he himself were to take the 5th Amendment.
Now, you know, Shelnut, I never discuss politics because I don't want crime and crime victims to become some kind of political football. But when this reality of the law came to the forefront was during the Bill Clinton era when Monica Lewinsky's mother was called to a grand jury and everybody was screaming, oh, the mother's going to have to testify. That's wrong. That's illegal. It's not. It is not illegal. Mothers, fathers, sisters, brothers, they have to testify. They cannot take the 5th. They've got to tell the truth about their relative, their son, their daughter. So that's when it came to the forefront, harsh as it is. Of course, I'm not saying the mom or the dad won't lie under oath. I mean, take a look at Casey Anthony, top mom. Her mother, Cindy Anthony, a very nice lady, got up on the stand and she, I believe, perjured herself and took the heat, claiming that she made the searches for homemade chloroform, which she said she meant to type chlorophyll. Okay, whatever. That said, she still got called to the stand. So if what Jen Smith is telling us, chief investigative reporter at dailymail.com, is true, the dad, I guarantee you, is going to be questioned. But back to the 3 dead bodies. Listen to Sydney Sumner from Crime Online.
On Tuesday, January 9th, 9:51 p.m., Clayton McGeeney's fiance shows up at the house. She sees the cars in the driveway, and since nobody is answering the phone or replying to messages, she breaks into the home and screams Willis's name. She has had no communication with her partner for 2 days, and she wants answers. She walks through the house and doesn't find her fiance. Then she looks on the back porch and sees a body.
Holy moly. So the fiance has been trying to reach all of these guys. Let me understand, Jen Smith joining us, dailymail.com. Did she just call her fiance, Clayton McGeeney, or did she try to reach the homeowner, Jordan Willis?
All of the above. She tried to reach Clayton. She tried to reach Jordan Willis. The other families also tried to reach him. Before the fiance eventually went to the house and she ended up breaking in actually through the basement because she got no response when she banged on the door. Other families had gone there and banged on the door and tried to get in. They sent Jordan Willis Facebook messages. They called him, all of which they received silence from. So it wasn't as if this was her first attempt.
Including calling all the friends, all four of them, including the homeowner. And I'm not calling him the perp or the defendant because he, as of right now, has not been charged with a crime. Okay, let's pick it up with the fiance going through that, breaking in. I mean, she sees the cars out front. She sees that they're all still there.
That's wild. Yeah, that's true. Imagine that's your family or whatever. You know that this is the last place, you know, that your family member or your fiance or whatever was last seen at. You pull up to the house and the car's right out there. You know?
But nobody's answering the door, the phone, messages, nothing. So she breaks in wisely and starts screaming. Let's pick it up, but how did the whole thing start? Okay, let's freeze the screaming fiance in time. How did this day start off? Listen.
January 7 is a football day for the Kansas City Chiefs as they will be playing the Los Angeles Chargers. So 38-year-old Jordan Willis invites a couple of buddies to come to his house and watch the game. David Harrington, Ricky Johnson, and Clayton McGeeney arrive at Willis' house in time for the 3:25 p.m. Central Time kickoff. They enjoy the game as the Chiefs beat the Chargers 13-12, and Willis makes plans for them to all get tickets for the next home game.
Okay, what happens then?
After the game, Jordan Willis waves the guys off and crashes on the couch. Willis has known two of the men since they were in high school, and the other is a friend. Willis wakes up later and doesn't see the guys, so he assumes they took off and heads to bed. He leaves the doors unlocked so the guys can come and go as they please.
Okay, right there. Back to you, Jen Smith, joining us from Daily Mail. He leaves the doors unlocked, but when the fiance got there, everything was locked up tight.
Very, very strange. And I want to go back to his story about when he goes to sleep, when they leave. This has changed quite a few times since this story came across all of our desks. Now, he has an attorney who I spoke with yesterday.
Wait a minute. Did you say he's lawyered up?
He is lawyered up, Nancy.
Okay.
So initially, he claims, I left them all to hang out in the living room and I go upstairs to bed. Now, the story is, I waved them goodbye, saw them out the house, then returned to the couch where I crashed, then at some stage went from the couch to my bedroom, and sometime after that, he believes, they came back
right
to hang out because they didn't want to go elsewhere.
Yeah, we got to play that again. So they're up. I'm glad they're up to date. I was a little afraid because sometimes, you know, maybe they're waiting. I'm glad they're very up to date. That's amazing. Amazing.
Right.
Very, very strange. And I want to go back to his story about when he goes to sleep, when they leave. This has changed quite a few times since this story came across all of our desks. Now, he has an attorney who I spoke with yesterday.
Wait a minute. Did you say he's lawyered up?
He is lawyered up, Nancy.
Okay.
So initially, he claims, I left them all to hang out in the living room and I go upstairs to bed. Now, the story is, I waved them goodbye, saw them out the house, then returned to the couch where I crashed, then at some stage went from the couch to my bedroom, and sometime after that, he believes, they came back to hang out because they didn't want to go elsewhere to a bar. And that's when he's claiming there was whatever happened. But this timeline is very strange and it's changed a lot. I mean, he says I asked him, well, how did they get back in if you'd gone to bed? Oh, I left the doors unlocked. But like you rightly point out, when the fiance shows up 2 days later, she can't get in the house.
Okay, one of the stories is that they watched the game, they made plans to buy tickets for the next game, and the three friends left, and he went to sleep on the sofa, then later went to his bed. The other story is that he went to bed and he left them all down there partying. Is that right? Or did he saying they left and then they came back?
Yeah, that's right. The initial story was, and this is coming from his lawyer, that he went to bed, leaving them there, and then it changed yesterday to, no, I misspoke. What I meant to say was he waved them off, they left. He then fell asleep on the couch and then later goes up to bed, and they must have come back somehow. So that's a very significant shift in narrative about the night in question.
I don't know, man. What y'all thinking, bro?
Johann Schmiegel.
I don't know. I remember when I listened to the lawyer say that, he said like a very in a nonchalant, roundabout way too. He's like, oh, maybe, possibly they came back. How would he know that they possibly came back if this guy was like passed out or whatever, sleeping? Oh, it's just weird. I don't know.
You've got the
question for you.
Up at night, me, no matter your...
He drove out of my driveway. I was living with my parents. He held his left arm out of his car on his way back where he lived in Athens and waved at me. That's the last time I saw him. I remember the last time I saw my dad before he passed away. But this guy seems to have a hard time remembering exactly when he saw his friends alive. They're all dead now.
Yeah, I would take two different perceptions of this. You know, that he's changing his story is one, and he may have used like a sleep aid, you know, and the sleep aid helps him go to sleep, but it also kind of affects memory, the ability to form memories. And that comes from, you know, once you get into a deep sleep, that's where memories are really getting organized in REM sleep. Certain medications like an ambient, you know, there's been a lot of research about ambient behavior, people falling asleep, getting up and doing things and not remembering them.
Are you talking about him taking some sort of a sleep aid or some type of medicine like cough medicine that would make him groggy and somnambulant?
Yes.
Okay, you know what? I want to follow up on that. Jen Smith, dailymail.com. Is there any mention of a sleep aid or any type of medication that would make him, let me just say, groggy as a vernacular for somnambulant state inducer?
Nothing so far, Nancy. So one of the questions I asked his attorney yesterday was specifically, were there any drugs involved in the evening? Were there any drugs taken by the group, by Jordan, in the house? He refused to answer.
But so far, nothing about any, let's just say, Robitussin?
No, nothing like that. I mean,
no Benadryl?
No mention of anything. He did mention that they had been drinking, but nothing about any kind of sleep aid or other type of, you know, legal drug, nothing like that.
Is anyone remembering the so-called cough syrup killer?
I never heard of that.
Who claimed he was somnambulant when he murdered his wife? Take a listen to our cut 17. This is Matthew Phelps desperately calling 911.
Tell me exactly what happened.
I think I killed my...
What do you mean by that? What happened?
I had a dream, and then I turn on the lights and she's dead on the floor.
How?
I have blood all over me, and there's a bloody knife on the bed. And I think I did it.
You think you did it? Hell yeah, you did it. Listen.
Okay, is she awake at all right now? What makes you think she's dead? Is she awake?
She got breathed.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Okay, do you think she is beyond any help?
I don't know. I'm too scared to get too close to her.
Okay, just stay on the phone with me, sir. I'm here with you. I'm here with you.
I'm so scared.
I'm scared. Yes, Sydney, you better roll your eyes. She rolled her eyes almost the same time I rolled my eyes. Hey, can you find out how many times he stabbed her, Sid? Okay, but wait. But before you do that, it ain't over yet. Have you noticed how calm he is? Yeah, I think she's dead, but I'm afraid to touch her. Really? Okay, more.
When did you wake up?
I don't know. I took more medicine than I should have.
What medicine did you take?
I took Corseed, cough and cold, Corseed, HPT, cough and cold, because I know it can make you feel good. So a lot of times I can't sleep at night.
Okay.
I took some.
All right, sir.
Okay, Robertson, you're not guilty. Corseed and HP, you're on the docket. Sydney found out from me how many times he had stabbed his wife. Does anybody just even want to guess? You know, let me throw it to you, Justin Boardman. I ain't gone to you yet. Wild guess. How many times? Don't look it up.
I'm not looking it up. I'm guessing 24.
Okay, good guess, because I was thinking 19. Dr. Kendall Crowns, you haven't looked it up, have you?
I have not.
Okay, I had a feeling that laid back Dr. Kendall Crowns had not looked it up. Just give me a wild guess. How many times did he stab his wife while he was asleep? And for those of you that can't see me, I'm absolutely using air quotes. How many times? Just throw it out there, Dr. Crowns.
56.
Good guess. 123.
Wow. Holy moly.
123 stab wounds, and he slept through the whole thing. Take a listen to Dave Mack.
Damn,
right. CrimeOnline.com.
Matthew Phelps is a 29-year-old Bible college graduate with a fascination for the movie American Psycho. He calls 911 just after 1 a.m, claiming his wife Lauren has been stabbed. He tells police he took some cold medicine with Corseed and went to sleep. When he woke up, his wife was dead and a knife was on the bed. Lauren Phelps had been stabbed more than 100 times. And even though they find blood evidence at the scene, investigators determined that Phelps cleaned up a lot of the blood before he made the 911 call.
Oh, really?
During their investigation, police find out Phelps has told friends he wonders what it would be like to kill someone, and he likes to take cold medicine for fun. Phelps is charged with first-degree murder, and after trying to use the cold medicine defense, he pleads guilty and is sentenced to life in prison without parole.
So, Dr. Jory Crossan, I'm so glad that you brought up maybe he had, what, Benadryl?
Yeah, something like
Don't care. Don't care. And as Jen Smith...
Apparently, the family believed that this guy had always intended to murder this woman. He planned the whole thing from the very day they met. Family of the woman killed by her aspiring pastor husband. Wow. After he stabbed her 123 times and blamed it on taking cough medicine, believe he always intended to murder her. This was back in, let's see. Well, he pleaded guilty September 2017. Okay.
Smith is telling us there's been no mention of any sleep aid whatsoever. So let's get back to what really happened. Who is this guy? Who is the homeowner, as he has been described? Jordan Willis. Take a listen to investigative reporter Rachel Bonilla with CrimeOnline.com.
Jordan Willis is an HIV researcher and protein scientist who lives and works in his home in Kansas City, Missouri. Willis is an accomplished scientist whose research into COVID and HIV has been praised in the medical world.
Dr. Faust.
In interviews, he describes his two pit bull mixes, Sadie and Daisy, as the light of his life.
Okay. Joining me is a renowned medical examiner, the chief medical examiner in Tarrant County, that's Fort Worth, lecturer, University of Texas, Austin, and Texas Christian University Medical School, Dr. Kendall Crowns. Dr. Crowns, thank you for being with us. What is a protein scientist?
A protein scientist, they are the people that work with developing immunizations and things of that nature. They're working at like kind of more cellular, molecular level with the actual proteins that make up our bodies.
Okay, could you just stop right there? I learned a lot of Latin phrases in law school, but nothing about what you just said. What? Just slow down. Speed limit 75 mph. Okay, please. What?
Protein scientist is basically someone who is looking at very detailed, minute molecular things that are associated with the body. They're often associated with developing immunizations and figuring out how viruses work, things of that nature.
He sounds brilliant, right? To figure out, to research and develop advancements in COVID-19 immunizations and vaccines and for HIV. I mean, am I getting that right, Jen Smith?
Yeah, exactly. So that was a huge amount of his research. He's celebrated in the field, given plenty of interviews, a great education, Nancy, a really promising young scientist by all accounts.
Okay, so can we get back to the 3 dead bodies? 1 on the porch. Let's get back to what happened. Take a listen now to our friend Nicole Parton, Crime Online.
Seeing a body on the back porch, still screaming Jordan Willis' name, Clayton McGeeney's fiancée calls police. Wow. Officers arrive to find Willis in his underwear with an empty glass of wine in hand, according to the victims' families. The other 2 bodies were then found in the backyard. Jordan Willis tells police he has no idea what happened.
Okay, Justin Boardman joining me. Former detective, West Valley City PD, Special Victims Unit, now with Boardman Training and Consulting.
Yes, ma'am.
Justin, you're joining us out of Kansas. Was there any snow on that day? That would have been Jan 7?
There was some snow. The reports say that there was like an inch or two, just barely a skiff, if you will.
Okay, let me absorb what you just said, because if there were 3 feet of snow and there was a body under there, maybe I could accept that the homeowner, Jordan Willis, didn't see it. Did you say a skiff? A what?
A skiff. A skiff. So an inch or two of snow. So not enough to cover a body to where you would not see it.
Much less one on the back porch.
Right, especially one on the back porch, and then others out in the yard.
Just
when
the
you look
backyard.
at the photographs from some of the articles, it has without the snow, but pictures of the backyard, there isn't any brush back there. It's pretty plain.
Is that true, Jen Smith? Is Justin Boardman correct? He's joining us from Kansas. What can you tell me?
Yeah, it was I think the temperature on Jan 7th went to freezing, 32 Fahrenheit, but no indication of huge piles of snow that would have concealed bodies. And, 32 Fahrenheit, if that was going to kill you, you'd have to be out there for a very long time. You'd have to be nutritionally compromised and severely dehydrated as well, I think.
Why would they just be out there for that long? Do we have a COD yet, Jen Smith, cause of death?
No, we don't. And obviously this is going to really put the pieces of the puzzle together. The medical examiner is yet to reveal cause of death, any form of even estimation about what happened. And crucially, we don't have toxicology yet for the 3 men who were found dead. And that could explain a huge amount. But right now, no answers.
I don't know that it's really explaining anything for me, because even if they had smoked some pot, even if they had some alcohol, that would not induce them to stay out in freezing temperatures and not come back in.
That's right.
Or get in their car or bang on the door, anything.
That's right.
Yeah, what more do we know? Listen.
On Monday, January 8th, Jordan Willis claims he did not leave his home at all. He would normally have to take his dogs, Sadie and Daisy, outside to do their business, but they're all staying at his dad's place. Without having to take the dogs out and not leaving the house for any reason, Jordan Willis doesn't realize his buddies' cars are still parked outside his.
Which now the new news for the new people that joined, the attorney, the 5th person, had said that his client, the 5th person there that night, supposedly had seen the dogs and that the dogs were there. So that's another, I don't know.
House.
Let me understand something. Jen Smith joining us from dailymail.com, who has been breaking the news on this story. So when the cops get there, he saunters in his boxer shorts, holding a glass of wine?
Yeah, he's holding an empty wine glass. Now, the victim's family took this to mean he was still drinking or drinking that morning. He claims it was a
Water.
leftover empty glass from the night before that he was using for water. But he is, by the looks of things, had just got out of bed in his boxer shorts. When the police arrive, he lets them in and they find the 3 other bodies.
And that's January 9th, correct?
That's January 9th, yeah.
Yeah, supposedly now they're claiming that the wine glass had water or something, that he put water in after or whatever. That boy might have been still lit. Whatever was going on in that house, I don't know.
And the party was January 7th.
Party begins at 9 p.m. on January 7th. We know that Willis says that the others left or he went to bed at around 2 a.m. So we have all day on, of course, the remainder of the night, January 7th into 8th, all day January 8th, the night of January 8th, and then the final discovery is on January 9th in the morning.
Man, I'd be all over this looking for receipts. I'd be looking for a digital record. What about it, J. Michelle Nutt? You were a former cop before you turned defense attorney. I would be all up in his text.
There is a dog door. Good observation.
Did he order in? Did he do an Instacart?
Good observation. In the picture, I didn't even notice that. Somebody in the chat had said maybe he had a dog door. And in the backyard here, in the door, there's a dog door. So maybe he let the dogs. I don't know why the reason to have the inconsistent statements about the dog, but maybe he let the dog out. And the eerie thing is that dog maybe went out there and saw the bodies and maybe sniffed the bodies and walked up to them and I don't know, and then came back inside.
Did he leave? Did he leave the home? You didn't see his friend's car still parked there? I mean, I'm just having a hard time believing this.
I agree 100%. Did he communicate with anybody at all? Number two, when you think about phones nowadays and technology nowadays, a lot of the times you can tell if someone actually reads your text. So even if he didn't proactively contact anyone, is there any indication that he read other people's messages that he received, whether it's on Facebook, whether it's on his phone or some other method?
You're right. You're absolutely right about those messages. I was thinking, did he go out for pizza? Did he leave the house? Did he go to an ATM? But we know more.
Yeah, I guess he would have ate. Maybe he cooked every day and he ate at home, I guess, a couple of days.
Now, listen to Rachel Bonilla and Dave Mack at Crime Online.
As news starts to spread of the 3 friends freezing to death in the backyard while their friend is asleep inside, the families of the victims begin to speak out and ask questions. The biggest question for Jordan Willis is what happened. Next was why didn't you answer calls, text messages, and social media messages from family and friends of the 3 men.
The Daily Mail reports Willis insists he spent the next 2 days in his home not thinking anything of the fact that his friends' cars were still outside and only learned they died when the fiancé of one of the men broke into the house on January 9th in the hopes of finding him.
The changing stories are a problem. And Jen Smith, Daily Mail, do we know, as Shelnut pointed out, whether he was reading those texts and those online messages?
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be huge once it's properly probed. He says that he did not see them. We don't know yet. The messages predominantly were on Facebook Messenger, which you can tell whether or not someone has read your message. Now, the families haven't indicated specifically whether or not they got that, read receipt, but you could, for the sake of argument, see that the relatives of, your dead friend were trying to contact you and just simply not open the message. We don't know is the answer to your question, Nancy, whether or not he opened the messages. All we know is he says he didn't see them and only saw them after the police came to his home on January 9th and the bodies were found.
I'm curious as to what his reaction was when he realized all 3 of his friends are dead.
Well, he himself actually has not spoken to the media. He has actually moved out of this house now. He's deleted all of his social media accounts. So all of the communication about how he's feeling, what he's thinking is coming through this attorney. And the attorney...
Right. I think he did take down his social media.
Are dead.
Well, he himself actually has not spoken to the media. He has actually moved out of this house now. He's deleted all of his social media accounts. So all of the
Let me show you this real quick too. Wilson had just sent me this. Wilson, by the way, thank you for sending me the article last night. And also somebody else on Facebook had sent me a different article. Or Instagram, that was really useful. Let me show you this picture. It's a screen cap of his profile. That I guess he scrubbed his profiles for now. Give me 1 second. I'll pop it open here. Okay, that's Jordan Willis. And I guess it says here, walking in the line to be the funniest guy in the room and on a full-on mental breakdown. And there's the dogs. 2 doggies. I guess. All right, let's continue.
Communication about how he's feeling, what he's thinking is coming through this attorney. And the attorney tells me that he is, devastated, anxiously awaiting more information from the police about how his friend died, insistent that he wanted no harm to come to them, that they had the plans to go to the next Chiefs game. But he himself is yet to make any kind of public statements or give any interviews about this. I mean, I think all of us have so many unanswered questions that if he just answered them with the truth, it would explain a lot, but he hasn't said anything. He's relying on his attorney to do the talking for him.
I find that curious as well. I'm also curious if he's going to show up at their funerals. Guys, it's not...
That's interesting. And I Am Two Bear says in the chat, which I think that actually was a part of it too. Ricky's dad said his coat was inside. I guess inside like the house. Likely contained his keys also. Just weird.
Not the first time someone claims they slept through a death. Take a listen to our Cut 16 from Crime Online.
42-year-old Barbara Woods is at home in bed asleep with her husband when her son-in-law, Kenneth Parks, sneaks into the bedroom, stabs and chokes her husband, then turns his rage on her, using a tire iron to beat her about the head and a knife to stab her 4 times, causing her death. Parks is charged with the murder, and at trial, his attorney claims that on the night of the killing, Kenneth Parks was plunged into a deep, deep sleep. His next memory is seeing his mother-in-law's face. The attorney said he then regained consciousness and fled the house and drove to a nearby police station. According to his attorney, the 24-year-old Kenneth Parks was sleepwalking as he drove the 14 miles to his mother-in-law's house and killed her in bed, wounding his father-in-law. The jury agreed, and Parks was acquitted.
That's true. Barbara Woods at home, asleep with her husband. Her son-in-law drives 14 miles to their home. He says in his sleep, murders the mother-in-law and father, beating them with a tire iron, killing the mother-in-law, wounding the father-in-law, and he was acquitted. That's right, Kenneth Parks. I'm having a hard time letting that soak in, but there's more. Take a listen to our Cut 20.
Let me just interject real quick. Lorraine, thank you on Facebook for the stars. And Terry on Facebook says, not defending this guy, but 7 years ago, I don't remember driving home from work. Slept 3 straight days, never woke up, missed tons of calls and texts, never went to the bathroom, memory loss, weakness, etc. Doctors determined it was caused by stress. Damn. Stress did that? Wow. I saw somebody in the chat earlier mentioning too, like maybe the guy was just passed out for days or whatever. I never got that messed up to where I slept for days. Back when I used to party, I'd sleep until the afternoon or something and then wake up. I would check my messages. I sometimes wouldn't reply if I was really not feeling it, didn't want to be bothered, but like something else like my friends were missing or something like that, if that were to happen, I'd definitely reply or something. I never, the whole passing out for days almost sounds like crack or meth to me or something. I don't know who passes out for days like that, but I have heard of that happening. I've heard of people sleeping for days. I guess it can happen. I mean, the times that I heard about it, it's like people doing some really, really hard, like injecting stuff. I don't know, but it's possible, I guess, if you haven't slept. That's what I don't know.
Living in a 3-story home in Buffalo, New York, while attending the University of Buffalo, Elena Zabel and her roommates go to a party at the Sigma Chi fraternity not far from their house. One of the roommates headed home earlier than the rest, and by the time Zabel made it back to the house, the door was locked and she didn't have a key. Zabel climbs through a bathroom window and notices a weird smell. Calling out for her roommate, she doesn't get a reply, but hears heavy breathing and thinks her roommate is asleep, so she goes to bed herself. Her roommate isn't sleeping. At that very moment, she's being brutally attacked. Hours later, Zabel awakes and finds her roommate clinging to life. 911 is called, and the roommate is rushed to the hospital where she spends months in a coma and a recovery that was very long. Many people question why it took so long to call for help, hours between the attack and the call for help. 4 years later, the serial rapist was convicted of rape and attempted murder.
Missy said I slept.
Meet Gary. Gary's about to become an.
Missy said I slept 36 hours straight when I had a virus. Alcohol bender can erase a few days. I mean, I've heard of people doing crazy things on Ambien too. I had a friend that would take Ambien with the intention of not going to sleep. She would purposely force herself to stay awake, which is just like wild to me. Like, I don't know why is that something people want to do to get a high out of it? I guess you force yourself to stay awake, and then I don't know. I guess you feel good. But this chick would never remember what the hell she did. She'd do all kinds of like climbing on cars, walking around, like just doing all kinds of. And then the next thing I remember. The other thing with Ambien, though, I've heard of people like sleepwalking and not remembering too, like doing stuff while they're sleeping. It's pretty scary. I've tried Ambien like twice. Not my cup of tea. I feel like you sleep too good on that. I almost feel like you're sleeping, like you start to fall asleep and you wonder if you're going to wake up again. Like it's too much of a deep sleep. That shit makes me uncomfortable.
Einstein in an instant.
Whoa, Einstein!
Here is free, and you have what?
Take out loans in your name. LifeLock is the New Year's
calls for now 3 days, Jan 7, 8, and 9, when police get there on the 9th. But the changing of the stories, that shouldn't change. That what happened should not change. Jen Smith, what is the most disturbing change in the story?
I mean, for me, it has to be the fact that initially the story was he left them inside the house, hanging out downstairs. And then the second iteration of the story is, no, they left. I waved them goodbye. And then at some stage, they must have come back. One thing I do want to say, and this goes back to the fact that Jordan Willis hasn't yet spoken to the media himself. Changing stories could be down to a really ill-equipped or just incompetent attorney, right? All we've heard on Jordan Willis's behalf is coming from his attorney. Now, if Jordan Willis has his story straight and he's letting his lawyer do all the talking and the lawyer is changing the story, it's in his best interest to get out there and set the record straight. But if it is the case that he's been changing his story to his lawyer, who has been, contemporaneously changing it to the press, that's going to be hugely problematic for him down the line if there's a criminal case.
Guys, he says he slept through the whole thing and had no idea what was going on. But others disagree. Many others disagree. Take a listen to our 14 with Nicole Parton.
John Paserno, an attorney representing Willis, said his client had no idea his friends were dead until police knocked on his door. The New York Post shared a Facebook post from Kaylee Latier, who wrote, "My husband banged on his door for 20 minutes. Latier continued, "My friend banged on his door and then busted a window and yelled and announced her presence. While she's inside and still nothing from him, then the cops come 10 minutes later and he comes out nonchalant in his boxers with an empty wine glass in hand. Nothing is adding up. Dave, Clay, and Ricky need and deserve justice."
Okay. This is what I'm trying to figure out. Jen Smith, do the relatives and friends of the victims believe Jordan Willis?
No, absolutely not. Under no circumstances. They say that none of this adds up. They need more information. And they are devastated at not only their deaths, but the lack of information from him, someone who had apparently been friends with them since they were at high school, so would know their families. And from the police. From the get-go, the police said, nothing to see here, no foul play. We're going to carry on our investigation, but we have no reason to believe anyone is in danger, nor do we have any reason to believe Jordan Willis did anything wrong. Making that kind of statement before you have a cause of death, they might have been a bit hasty there, and the families are, rightfully questioning why they are so comfortable stating that there is no foul play when the investigation isn't complete. We don't even have a cause of death yet.
Dr. Kendall Crowns, Chief Medical Examiner, Tarrant County, Fort Worth, if the bodies became frozen, would that affect finding out a COD cause of death?
No, actually, the cooling or the freezing of the bodies will slow down decomposition and actually prevent decomposition so that it will maintain the body itself. So it won't alter cause of death at all. One thing you have to think of with 3 individuals dying suddenly, there has to be a commonality between all 3 of them. And an environmental factor, the fact that they're all healthy, I just can't think that they wouldn't get themselves out of a cold situation. So, could it be drugs? Could it be something else? And you also have to throw in there, you have a research scientist, and his 3 friends are all now dead. It's all very odd.
Yes, odd. There's definitely smoke, but is there fire? I believe that you can sleep through something, a crime happening in the next room or right above you. What about the roommates of the Idaho students in the Brian Kohberger murder case? Take a listen to Dave Mack.
Dylan Mortensen and Bethany Funk were both home when Brian Kohberger allegedly snuck into their home in the early morning hours and stabbed Maddie Mogan, Kaylee Gonzalez, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin to death in their beds. The New York Post reported the 2 women were texting each other while the murders were happening, and Dylan Mortensen came face to face with the killer right after the attack and gave a description of the alleged murderer, saying he was wearing black and had bushy eyebrows. This information caused a lot of online attacks, with people wondering why, if they were home and awake during the attacks and Mortensen saw the man dressed in black, why did it take hours before police were called?
We're waiting to hear answers to that. There have been a lot of suggestions online amongst trolls that the 2 surviving roommates actually had something to do with the murders.
There's been a lot of that.
That's not true. I can emphatically state that is not true. These 2 girls had nothing to do with those 4 murders. But what about this case? Okay, Dr. Jory Krausen, psychologist, former law enforcement, now faculty, St. Leo University. What do you think?
Really, there's got to be a commonality, something in their deaths. It may be like drugs or something, some kind of a drug that OD'd possibly, but, certain types of drugs, like fentanyl, you could tell from the bodies possibly, but if they're frozen, they're going to be just kind of locked in that state.
But we don't have any reason to think these guys were using drugs. Shelnut, what do you think?
I'm in total agreement that there's a commonality. When you talk about drugs, you also talk about...
Okay, you know what? Forget the commonality.
Forget it.
All right? That's not really telling me anything. Yes, they probably all were killed the same way.
Well, we've talked a lot about drugs.
I haven't talked a lot about drugs because nobody said they were using drugs.
Well, we've talked about whether or not something could have been ingested. And the bottom line is it could be drugs, but it could be a poison as well.
Well, I'm sorry. Am I the only one that sees the elephant in the room? A man claims he's totally unaware of search efforts for 3 of his friends. They are there for 3 days, Jan 7, 8, and 9. His story is changing. They're dead. One's on the back porch. Hello, you can see it from inside. The other 2 are out in the garden. And he says he knew nothing. What? That doesn't make sense to me. Jen Smith, could you help me, please? I mean, you want me to believe 3 guys go in the backyard and drop dead?
No, I don't think that's what happened. And I think what maybe we're trying to get at here is both could be, he could have, lied about not knowing anything, and they could have died of some kind of accidental overdose, different type of recreational drug laced with fentanyl, THC, synthetic drugs. Is there a scenario in which all of the men are taking drugs perhaps supplied by Jordan Willis or someone else, in which the 3 of them end up dying and Jordan Willis panics and doesn't alert anybody? Is that a possibility? We don't know. Now, I want to emphatically state that the police are not saying that is what's happened, but he could have concealed the fact that his friend died of an accidental drug overdose without actually murdering them or doing something, more violent to them, just for the sake of panic and protecting his, science career.
Well, showing up when police are standing there. I mean, have you ever seen the program Cops? Because there'll be a guy sitting in his easy chair in the den, throwing back a beer, and cops come running through the house and he just watches them go by and keeps watching TV like that's normal. I mean, this guy strolls in his underwear with a wine glass. I don't think that's a good look. One thing that is to his defense is that there was no obvious sign of foul play on the three bodies. They weren't shot. They weren't bludgeoned dead. There was nothing to end.
Almost didn't want to pause it because I think sometimes once it passes the time, it loses. It won't start again. But the Jeffrey Dahmer thing, I don't know why my mind flashed. I'm not saying this guy's Jeffrey Dahmer, but I just remember there was I think it was the Netflix documentary where like he brought this guy up, I think, to like a hotel. They were like partying and drinking, and like Jeffrey goes to like pour something in the guy's drink. He has both drinks out there, pours a drug in one of the drinks, and I guess he had confused or messed up the drink because Jeffrey ended up drugging himself, bruh. And he still ended up killing the guy. I don't know. I guess in a drug haze or whatever. But he like forgot he did it, and then he like woke up in the morning and the guy's there and he's like, oh crap, like oh shit, and, like there's the wine glass or whatever it was they were drinking, cups or whatever. I just imagine this guy, Jordan, waking up and I guess he claims he didn't know, people banging on the door. Hey, somebody allegedly literally broke into the basement, hey, like screaming or whatever. This guy not waking up, and then I guess they called the cops because she found a body. And the cops show up, and he now finally answers, and he's just there in some boxers and a wine glass. He's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" So something like that, just like I don't know.
Indicate they had been murdered. So how do you wake up and your three friends' cars are parked outside your house? Your phones are full of messages and texts looking for your three friends, and they're on your back porch and in your garden, and you don't know. How did that happen? Of course, Jordan Willis, through his lawyer, insists he had nothing to do with this. And in our jurisprudence system, he is always presumed innocent until proven guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. We wait as justice unfolds. Goodbye, friend.
That was a really, really good episode. Really, really good. The timing was like impeccable because I was planning to do a stream anyway about the inconsistencies, and they talked about some of the inconsistencies. I mean, this really could be a thing of like everybody's getting recreational high or whatever. I've been to stuff like that back in the day, and you don't expect somebody to die. But it's just so weird. It just wasn't one person. It's three people dead, and they're right there in the backyard. So it's just like it just doesn't make much sense. But I've seen stories where people are hanging out, just buddies or recreationists, somebody dies or whatever, and then now it's like people are afraid. Are they going to be charged? Is their whole life going to be ruined? Did somebody give it to everybody else? And so, damn, now am I culpable of these deaths? And I don't know. Let's take a look at this apartment now. So Jordan doesn't live there anymore, right? So, but I do want to look at this listing. Thank you to Mary that sent me this. Thank you for that. Because you can see a little bit of the inside. So I guess this is the front. Some of the inside here, a little fireplace. Kind of door is this? I guess it's I don't know. I wonder where that goes to. Does that lead somewhere? Kind of weird. I guess that's the front door, maybe. I don't know. Weird looking door. All right, they got the upstairs, and I guess that's the kitchen there. Pretty big place. He's not the homeowner again. He was renting this place. There was a little bit of confusion about that at first as the information developed. Oh, I wonder if that's the back sliding door or the back door to the backyard kind of thing. Somebody said coat room earlier. Oh, that was the front door? Coat closet. Oh, okay. Yeah, they got to that houses. They got coat closets. Why does it have to lock though? Should got like a triple lock system for a coat closet. The hell is that? um. Oh, see that? Oh, maybe that is the front door. That's such a nice looking place, or maybe the front door, or the. Oh no, no, okay, that's the coat thing right there on the side, and then that's the front door, right? For such a nice looking place, that's a rackety looking door. Or maybe that's not the front door. I don't know, because this door here looks like one thing, unless it does extend to the. Maybe that is the same door. Actually, I think. Right, that is the same door. Okay. Drug closet. Somebody said drug closet. Oh man, you guys kill me. Bad choice of words. Okay. I mean, it's a pretty nice, very nice, big, spacious looking house. Here's the other thing: you can see straight out into the backyard from there. There's the kitchen's right here. This guy's got to go to the kitchen, right? This place has a lot of windows. Let me see here. Just look at quickly at this real quick. I think we're looking right out. We're looking right through this thing right here. This, I mean, look how many huge, giant. Maybe you could argue he had all the shades in the house were closed. Maybe you could argue that. Maybe you could argue that. Look at the window above the kitchen sink. All right, let's take a look. Go back. I wonder if they'll let us look at. One of the pictures will be in the kitchen. I mean, you can see the backyard straight out here. I mean, maybe everything was closed. It's possible he had everything closed in the place. But you can, because I think one of the guys was found on the back porch, I thought, and then the other guys. I mean, there's not really. I guess if you call it a back porch, maybe it's been updated since this listing. Oh, the kitchen here, which is like kind of connected to the back. You can see through the back there. Yeah. I mean, the kitchen you see out through the backyard. So let's see. I mean, blacked out curtains. I haven't had blackout curtains in a long time. I used to have it in my old place in the studio. I thought about getting it here, but I actually sometimes like not having it. If I have blackout curtains, I could sleep in, like really sleep in. I like not having the blackout curtains because I can naturally wake up. I use an alarm because I have to be up early for Maddie's school, but like if not, even on a weekend, I could usually at a decent time the sunlight will get me, kind of cause me to wake up. But I mean, this place has a lot of windows and you can see from inside out or even outside in if they had the shades. Big fireplace. Maybe this is the living room area. That's a nice house, right? Yeah. Or maybe that's the living room area. I don't know. And that's the kitchen. That thing connects to the kitchen. That's kind of cool too, I guess. So if this is the living room area, because this looks like this is the kitchen here, I think this is the back door to the backyard as well. There's like a sliding door and a back door, I believe. Let me take a look again. Yeah. I believe the kitchen's right against this right here. The kitchen right here. But the kitchen's there. There's like this I think maybe the living room. This back door here, and there's like another area here with like a sliding door. So I would assume maybe they'd be watching the game from the living room. I don't know. If this is what that is, who knows what purpose they use this room for. Maybe this is the living room. But you have right access to you can see the backyard and stuff and the door right there. Bedroom. Maybe the master bedroom, maybe. I don't know, weird bathroom. No door, or it's just like an open. I guess that makes sense. Some master bathrooms are just open doors. I guess. Well, I love those little sink things. That's cool. I could see myself breaking that though. I'm like so clumsy. Probably wouldn't last. Huge bathrooms, bedroom. doors are like outdated though. A weird door. Oh. Just a little vent from the outside. I don't know. Supposedly for laundry, maybe. Oh, so maybe this place has a basement too? Looks like the basement. Oh. Oh, well, obviously, I guess, right? The woman broke in through the basement. Place got a basement. What's up, Kicks? Elena says there's no way with all those windows in the back he didn't see Isht. Maybe he didn't see that Isht all because he was doing Isht. Maybe. Rachel Ann, thank you for the super chat. Says, did you hear about the 6 people found dead? No. I heard about some other thing. Some guy that killed like 7 people or something. Ivan Jr., thank you for the super chat. The 5 says, H.O. said dogs were not there for the game. Laura said he was in and out and walking the dogs for 2 days. Michigan Wifey, thank you for the 4 months. Says, hey, Mel and the cool kids. April B12, thank you for the 16 months. Holy moly. Thanks for covering this case, Mel. Thank you. And Wani, thank you for the 5 months. As much love, Mel, Maddie, and chat family. Thank you. Check out Amanda Harms. She was also found frozen in a backyard. Ooh. We'll check that out. So this is what the basement looks like. Got the little windows there. Like a room. Maybe even, it looks like even a shower down there, maybe. Yeah, shower, bathroom. It's a pretty big space. Garage. There's the backyard. Bigger view of the backyard. Really big backyard. Very spacious. Privacy gates. And you got the thing opening from the side. I wonder, it might open from both sides. I'm not sure. Oh, it even has a little... I don't know why I can't think of the name of that. Not a shack. A tool shed? A shed? Got a shed there. And that's the front. Okay, maybe this is the double door. Actually looks nice from the front. Doesn't look so nice from the back, but it does. I think it looks like it has side entrances. Maybe entrances on both sides. Oh, there's the garage. Interesting. Oh, I wanted to play this News Nation clip, and we'll take a look at Amanda Harms real quick. 5 days ago. We'll take a look at that. Let's see here. News Nation. All the news media outlets are talking about the story changing.
Well, mystery still surrounds the circumstances involving 3 men who were found dead outside of a Kansas City home. They had allegedly been watching a football game with friends, but their bodies were found 2 days after the game when worried relatives grew concerned because numerous texts went unanswered, and now there could be even more to this situation. News Nation anchor Natasha Zuves is live for us. Natasha, the attorney for the person who lives at the home is changing his story.
Yeah, it's complicated, Nicole. The lawyer for Jordan Willis, who lived in the home where the 3 friends were found dead, is changing his story yet again. So earlier this week, attorney John Paserno revealed that there was another person present when Willis allegedly left the 3 men to go to sleep upstairs. But now Paserno is saying his client actually walked the 4 men to the door before going back to the couch and falling asleep. Our News Nation affiliate in Kansas City spoke with this 5th man and his lawyer. Now, the man's attorney, Andrew Talsh, says that his client arrived at Willis's home around 7 p.m. and left around midnight. And he insists Willis and the 3 men were alive and watching Jeopardy when he went home. We reached out to Paserno about this. He declined to comment. He did tell our own Ashley Banfield Willis let his friends out while telling our News Nation affiliate he went to bed, only adding to the confusion and mystery surrounding the death of these 3 men. The lawyer for the fifth man says his client received texts from the families of the deceased in the days after they were together. Now, he claims to have texted Willis about it too, but never got a response back. Yet another inconsistency. Willis's attorney says his client never received any texts from anyone, instead only messages through Facebook. Now, the victims' families have been very vocal about their frustrations with the inconsistencies. One of the men's uncles telling us he is done with all of the conflicting stories.
Wow.
It's just a cover up. Something's wrong with the picture. Man up. Man up. Now tell us what happened. He knows. He has to know. He's a grown man too. He has to know what happened.
So Willis is cooperating with authorities. Officials are still working to determine a cause of death for the men, though, saying there are no obvious signs of foul play. Now, friends and family of the victims telling us they are just not getting clear communication from police. Nicole?
Yeah, still so many questions here. All right, Natasha, thank you.
Wild. Risa says, and thank you for the 5. Thank you for the super chat, says, Mel, did you see my email about the 6 people that died in Southern California? I actually did hear about that because Stace had sent me a Twitter DM. I forgot she did send me that. We'll briefly mention that, and then we'll talk about the woman that froze to death. So this happened, I don't know, earlier, I guess. It says at least 6 people found shot to death scattered at a remote desert. Currently, an investigation is underway following the discovery of 6 people that were shot to death in a remote desert in El Mirage, California. Multiple bloodied victims are found scattered about the ground with evidence, markers, and bullets casings surrounding them. Somebody showed signs of burning. Wow. A dark-colored SUV riddled with bullet holes and shattered windows was on scene with a light-colored van faced the opposite direction with unclear damage. No information about the victims identified has been released. Sounds like some cartel stuff to me, almost. Wow. Crazy crime scene, I guess. Mustard Mama, thank you for the super chat. The 5 says, you never have to remember your story when you tell the truth. True that. All right, the last thing we'll touch on is this story that was sent to me about a woman that was found frozen in her backyard, I guess. Was she frozen? They said found dead. Oklahoma. Oh boy, another Oklahoma. Oh no, it's not. We didn't do Oklahoma, right? Days after she was reported missing, Amanda Harms was found dead in the backyard of a home miles from hers. While Muskogee police said they hadn't suspected foul play, her mother, Shelley Townsend, that sounds familiar, was not convinced until she met with investigators today. Harms' husband, Eric, told News that he had been receiving conflicting information regarding the level of details that would be shared with the family. Now that she had been found, he and Townsend met with investigators this afternoon looking for more answers. We won't know for sure until we get an autopsy report. We do know that at the end of her life, she was desperately trying to get somebody to let her come into a house so she could get warm, but they would not answer the door. Harms was found in a backyard near a fence 3 miles from her house. 3 miles from her house! Investigators told Townsend that it looked like her daughter had tried to climb the fence as some of the clothing was tangled in the wire. Her husband said in all the years that he's known her, she would have never climbed a fence. But obviously, maybe because of the circumstances, she was desperate and thought if she could get over the fence that maybe she could find another house and that they would let her come in. Harm leaves behind her 3 children and grandson. She was a 6th and 7th grade teacher at Muskogee Public Schools. We do know that she was knocking on doors trying to get in, but people didn't answer. That's crazy. I mean, people, I guess, are afraid. The distance between Harm's home and the yard she was found in was about 3 miles. They speculated that there was no way she had walked that distance, and learned today that police did have footage of her getting a ride from someone. So even in a story like this, there's more than the story that we're kind of covering. That's still more details are coming up. Even in this story, this woman, I don't know what the situation is, but she at least tried to get some help, at least knocking on doors, at least this and that, at least the clothes was ripped, and she tried to find, all these little things in this story that I'm hearing for the first time now. Another resolution that came from this meeting was clarity on examinations being done to determine all the details behind the death. The family were satisfied to learn that a full autopsy examination and toxicology report is being done. Right now, I'm convinced that it was an accident, said Townsend. It was just an accident. It was like my younger daughter said, the perfect storm with the weather. Although they have gotten a lot of clarity, the family is still waiting on the full report to determine the cause of death. Weird.
Tonight, new details about the Muskogee teacher who went missing this week. After Amanda Harms was found dead in a backyard yesterday, her family is asking questions. 2 News Oklahoma's Steph Manchin spoke to Amanda's mom, who met with investigators today looking for answers.
Although the circumstances were unclear at first, Shelley Townsend believes now that her daughter's death was an accident.
There were just issues that she couldn't overcome.
Amanda Harms, known to her family as Mandy, had been missing for 5 days until she was discovered dead in a backyard. Her family says she left to go to the store on foot Saturday night, unable to find her car keys or phone. The distance between her house and where she was found was 3 miles.
If she were walking it, but we know now that she was not. They have some footage that she did get a ride.
So police have confirmed that she was picked up by somebody?
Yes.
Muskogee police said at the scene yesterday that they suspected no foul play was involved. Townsend said MPD did have videos showing Amanda knocking on doors.
Wow.
The investigators told her when they found Amanda, it looked like she had been trying to scale the fence.
Because of the circumstances, she was desperate and thought she could if she could get over that fence, maybe she could find another house that would let her come in.
Harms taught 6th and 7th grade at Muskogee Public Schools and leaves behind 3 children and a grandson. Her mother says the support that reached far beyond just her town in the search for her daughter was a blessing.
The outpouring of the community, the people, contacting us, wanting to help find her, and the prayers, all that. It was unbelievable to me.
Muskogee police and the family are now waiting for a full medical examination to determine a cause of death. Reporting.
Wow. Elizabeth, thank you for the 5 memberships earlier. Appreciate that. And also Melissa. Yeah, Elizabeth earlier, and then Melissa Mellies. Thank you so much for the 5 memberships. Appreciate that. I was going to do members live today, but I guess I'll probably leave it for tomorrow. And Misty Blue had sent is it Misty Blue? Had said something that was interesting. Misty Blue had said that she believes they might have gotten fentanyl, and that she said fentanyl makes you feel hot, so maybe they went outside to cool off, try to get cool. So I guess that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for joining. If you could hit the like button, please, I'd appreciate that. I'll try and timestamp this live stream after we end here. And subscribe to the second channel, please, because when I run out of notifications or for whatever reason, I'll jump on the second channel. If you want extra content and stuff like that, it would be cool to if you could subscribe there. And we'll talk. Oh, the other thing. By the way, tomorrow I saw a tweet, and I think the Crumleys, the trial for Jennifer Crumley, the jury has been seated, and so tomorrow they're doing opening statements. The Crumleys, I forgot the kid's name. He shot up all these people, and his parents are being charged. Ethan Crumley. His parents are being charged. Tomorrow's opening statements. I thought maybe we can join in tomorrow for a little bit and check out the opening statements. For the people that followed that with me, we can probably check out the opening statements and see what's going on with that. It's kind of like an unprecedented thing with these. I think was he a school shooter? The parents are being charged for that ish. So maybe we can check out the little bit of the opening statements tomorrow. I thought sometimes the opening statements are pretty interesting. Check out and see. I don't know that I can commit to a whole trial because in February we have Anna Montgomery. We got 2 weeks about still left. I mean, I don't know how long this is going to be, this trial. Maybe we can listen to it and watch it. So yeah, Mama's getting charged tomorrow, or the trial starting tomorrow. All right. So yeah, take care, guys. Have a good night. If there's a chase or there's any kind of update with this story or any other story, we'll talk. I have two things, other stories that I kind of thought about covering too between this week and next week. I don't know. We'll see. All right. Love you. Bye. Peace.